level has recently increased. Excellent. Incoming message.
Oh, I just did
Good
that.
evening and welcome to Behind the Scanner. Your hosts for tonight are Daphne D. from Washington, D.C.
That works.
and Jorge Pedrero from Mexico City. Our special guests tonight are Brad Moldenhauer and William Johnson. The Q&A tool is enabled for tonight's broadcast. Submit your questions throughout the show and we'll ask as many as time allows. If you know someone who would make a great guest, submit their information to us at bit.ly/BTS_guest. Finally, you can watch past episodes and subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/behindthescanner. And now, your hosts of Behind the Scanner.
Hello guys, welcome to episode 25 of Behind the Scanner. Let's get this show started. And well, first of all, I have to remind you that we've enabled the Q&A tool so you can ask our guests whatever you want. And well, that sound was Jesse that is really pissed off because of the video, but well, everything is cool now. So our first guest hails from Australia, Capital Territory, where the bird emblem is the gang cockatoo. Let's bid a warm welcome to Agent Justin Bieber. No, sorry, Beatus, aka William Johnson. Welcome, William.
Woo! Lots of preteens are going to be out there screaming for you. Anyway, hi, William, or can I call you Bill?
Yeah, sure, Will.
Or
Anything,
Will?
really.
Well,
Yeah.
welcome. I'm glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, so what was that, the gang cockatoo?
Yeah, that's from my research. So yes, that's the bird emblem of your area.
Yeah, okay.
A little history lesson. Anyway, so what exactly is the Capital Territory?
Okay, right. So like, you can kind of think of it as a state that none of the states actually wanted. So like, it's controlled normally by a federal government. But like in Australia, there's the Australian Capital Territory and there's the Northern Territory. And yeah, but both of them have governments. So they're like states that aren't really states. It's a little confusing, but yeah. It's pretty small. It's like they built this place, Canberra, from nothing. Like it was a paddock, sheep paddock, and they just decided, hey, let's build a capital here instead of having like Sydney or Melbourne. Let's just put something slap bang in the middle. So yeah.
So what's the population like over there?
Well, I normally get like 270,000 mine units from a good field, so I'd guess around that.
Fair amount, all right. And I hear that you're actually a hacker, not just an Ingress hacker, but I mean old school. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so hacking, like, people think that it's like breaking into stuff and like being the evil guy in the system, but it was described to me really well just on the weekend. Someone had a shirt that said, makers make lights flash, hackers make other people's lights flash. And so like I'm into kind of finding new ways to like make systems work together. So for example, your TV remote isn't designed to like control your toaster or the Intel map, but my remote does control the Intel map.
Oh my god.
I know. I'm
That is so cool.
fascinated to see what that looks like.
Yeah. I don't have it here. I think you might have a photo somewhere of my Intel setup, like 6 screens or something. Um, yeah.
We'll
It,
get
it,
into about that a little. Yeah, I'm very curious about your Intel skills.
yep. Yeah, okay.
I
Um,
think you can't know anything about that, Daphne.
Secret.
yep.
Yeah,
All your
remember you are from the other side of the rainbow.
best side.
Yep. Yeah, no, and so it's all about computer security. Like that's the industry that I want to get into. Knowing a system better than the person who actually built it in the first place is all about what hacking is, I guess. Um, and yeah, it's not about breaking into something and stealing all people's information. There are those people, and they're usually called like crackers. Um, and yeah, hackers. I'm one of the good guys.
Nice.
Yeah, that's why you are on the blue side. So,
Yeah.
well, you are not just a mod in several communities. You are also one of the youngest mods in the game. How old were you when you first started?
Yeah, so, well, I'm 19 now, but I started playing Ingress when I was 17, and I was like still in high school. Um, yeah, and it was so much fun. I didn't, well, I still don't have my driver's license, but I would like take my free time off class, get on the bus and go to the local shops or wherever to capture the portals. And it took me like 6 months to get to level 8 at that time because there weren't many portals around. But yeah, it was really different game when I was 17. And it was really interesting. Like, I never was really into community stuff, and it'd take a lot for me to kind of break out of my shell. But as soon as I started getting into Ingress, I could see that I could be like a positive role model, I guess, in the community, even though I'm dealing with people who are sometimes double my age or more. Yeah, I realized that I had something that I could give back um, and kind of moderate communities. Like a lot of it's just getting people into the community, making sure that everyone's having fun, getting out to the events and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm very technical, so all the spreadsheets and that kind of thing. Um, yeah, I'm always into that kind of thing.
Well, despite people's conception about your age, it is true that you are a teacher.
Yeah, so I teach music because I'm a musician.
Wow.
I teach piano and guitar to primary schoolers and so on. I'm not that good at guitar. I had to learn guitar so I could teach it. Um, but yeah, I had like 3 weeks to learn this new instrument, and I was teaching it to young kids, and haven't had any complaints. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like you don't realize when you're getting into teaching how much of your attention it really requires, and how much you have to be like the person in charge, the role model. You have to know exactly what to say at the right times. And I guess Ingress did help me with that, like talking on Hangouts all the time to my team, managing all this stuff, managing time, um, paying attention to all the details. And yeah, and that really comes into teaching a lot, I find.
Interesting. Now, I also hear that you're a bit of an explorer. What kinds of adventures have you had, and especially at such a young age? And is there
Yeah.
anything interesting you're planning in the future?
Yeah, my adventures are completely related to Ingress. Like, yeah, I haven't actually left Australia ever. So, like, I went up to Sydney for a while for a weekend, and I ended up connecting with the local resistance. Um, and yeah, these awesome guys were like, "Hey, come around next to the Sydney Opera House to the wharf." And I was like, "What are you guys at the Opera House? Are we gonna like capture the Botanic Gardens around there?" And they were like, "You'll see." So these guys just rocked up on a boat, and they took me down like to all the different islands in the Sydney Harbour. And yeah, I captured all the different islands. I held like one of the islands in the middle of the harbor for something like 35 days, which was crazy. And when everything around it was getting captured all the time. And yeah, I've done a lot of couch surfing on Resistance players' couches. Actually, like last weekend, I was in Melbourne and I was staying on Mayestia's couch. And yeah, I did the same for the anomaly. I'll be in whatever city and I'll say, hey, who's up for putting me on the couch? And yeah, just talking to new players, getting to know people. I find it's the best way to travel. And yeah, people driving me around. I find that Ingress players are always the happiest to ever like just get into being with you and talking with you. Yeah, for hours on end and driving you 5 hours for a road trip. And what I really want to do in the future, funds permitting, is taking like a couch surf across like the US or Europe or somewhere, and all the contacts through the Resistance network. Yeah, that'd be so much fun, visiting as many cities as I possibly could, getting my UPV count up.
Hey, I'm going to ask him first this.
Okay, go.
What is your UPB?
Okay, so at the moment, it's fairly low compared to the people that like I know all the time. But having said that, I don't have a car. I rely on public transport and other people driving me around. I just hit 4,000. So that's like a bit of Canberra, a bit of Melbourne, a bit of Sydney, and then like a half a day in Brisbane. So it's wherever I just happen to be. I've never taken a Ingress only journey, which would be my goal, I guess.
Well,
in
that's
coming
it.
years.
That is a very cool amount of portals. You are very welcome to come to Mexico too to visit all our portals. Here in Mexico City, we have around, I don't know, like 4,000. So you'll be getting a lot of emotion here too.
Yeah, just double my UPV count in the city, because Canberra is fairly small. Like, our government spends a lot of money on art and that kind of thing. Um, but I think we're on maybe 1,200 portals would be my guess. Um, so yeah, it'd be interesting to get around, and Ingress is the best way to, like, I guess, tourgress, and yeah, find new cities, new places, and that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, aside from UPV, it's also important to know about like badges, and you have proclaimed yourself a badge holder. So, how many badges do you have, and how many were from attending anomalies in person, and how many from participating remotely?
Okay, so we've only had one anomaly in Australia, and that was in Terratus, and I went down to Melbourne for that. But I've been working with all the people moving shards and that kind of thing, artifacts, and yeah, getting all the intel together. I'm known to spend 5 hours at a time just sitting on intel with a bunch of other people, doing cluster intel, working out the volatiles, decoding, all the fun stuff. And I think it says something about someone if they're willing to spend like 5 hours every day for a week trying to get all this stuff done. And so my current badge count, I can't count them quickly, but I've got all the badges, and I'm on 4 rows. So you can see that.
Wow.
So
Nice.
yeah, and I've got a level 16 plan. So I just need like 45,000 destroys, 45,000 deploys, and that gets me platinum. Um, and yeah, I just need a couple of black badges then.
Well, if you decide to come to DC or this part of the United States, we'll help you with your hacks.
Yeah. So I think one of the best things for like hacking is just like getting on a bus with 20 other people, um, and yeah, well, hiring the Smurfs Australia bus, um, and just looping for hours and hours and hours. Just drop all the multi hacks on, crack out the beers.
Not a bad idea. That actually sounds kind of fun.
Come to
So,
Canberra.
yeah. So how many fields and for how many locations or countries have you provided intel for?
Oh, that's a really hard question. Um, so locally, we've like for the past year and a bit, a lot more in the early days when there weren't so many blocking links everywhere. We would field like our local area um, every single chance we got, and we'd have people just jumping in the car. We'd have a team of maybe 20 people just ready to field any requests we had. Just like jumping in their car, driving out 15, 20 minutes to take out a blocking link. Um, it would have been hundreds and hundreds of fields. I lived on Intel. I just had an Intel map constantly up, 6 different screens all over the world. I've done Intel for the US, Germany, um, all over Australia, oh, just everywhere that I can think of. Because people will call me up at like 4 a.m. and be like, "Are you on Intel?" And my response is always, "Yeah, I'm ready." So.
Interesting. Well, have you noticed any cultural differences with the different areas that you've worked with?
Yeah, just a little. Like, it's really local. So you might have one community that's gotten getting along really well together, and they will be able to pull in like 50 people and expect a lot of them to actually go way out of their way to take this link down. Um, there are some communities that are new to fielding, and they take a while to actually get like walk all the lines, make all the paths, and that kind of thing. And that's what I like to help with, getting people fielding for the first time. But also, like especially when I was working with the Germans, and they were like, guys, we need to switch to English. So yeah, just me being in a hangout with a bunch of other guys, and yeah, having all of them switch to English just so I can understand what they're saying. That really blew my mind.
Yeah, that actually happens to me too with the St. Petersburg uh, anomaly. I think it was in Tertius. It was like amazing to be switching and hearing all this Russian for some time, and then they switch to English, so I can help a little bit. It's amazing help to help with anomalies. It's
Mm.
quite an experience. Well, but you are 19 and you are really young, but I will avoid asking you like something like what do you want to be when you grow up or something like that, because so many of us old folks are still wondering that. But there are certain career paths you want to pursue, maybe in college.
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm studying at the University of Canberra.
Okay.
What do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be level 16. But
Okay.
no, I'm really involved in computer security, new and emerging technologies, all the smartwatches and Google Glass, all that kind of thing really fascinates me. And yeah, I'm really I like security because it makes you think about computers in a different way. It makes you think about problem solving, um, in a way that like no one else thinks of it. Like information security, you need a specific mindset, kind of involving technical knowledge and creative kind of thinking at the same time, and that's where I have a lot of fun. It's a bit of a puzzle. So I'm studying networking and software um, at University of Canberra. So that's all like the low-level engineering, maths, and yeah, that kind of thing. Telecommunications, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I honestly, the field is changing so much that I don't know what I'm going to be at the end of the 4 years of this course. Um, it's really a dynamic field, and I could be employed basically anywhere. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah. Do you find that some of the work that you do has helped you with some of your studies in school, or vice versa? Have you found that some of what you've been studying and that you've been able to apply with and contribute to what you have?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. Like I'll be doing something to do with computer security, and um, they'll like the lecturer will say something, and I'll be like, yeah, that's wrong, and I know it's wrong, but I don't want to say anything. It's kind of um, like it prepares me in a different way. Because sure, learning this like I learn computer security stuff on my own. I'm really involved with that. I'm really interested in that. Um, but like the fundamentals, like the engineering maths, I don't study the maths on my own. And doing the uni work really complements it. Learning about the crazy things that make like the light waves and the electricity that makes our computers work, and yeah, it's just so much fun, kind of taking it from two different angles at the same time.
Interesting. And is there something that you found out about yourself that you didn't know before since playing the game?
Yeah, definitely. Um, so I used to be pretty shy, um, and I guess it was Ingress that kind of brought me out of my shell, being able to take a leadership role. I'd never see myself as a leader before I started playing Ingress, and kind of saying, hey, let's do this, let's do that, and kind of being the ideas and that kind of thing behind what goes on, and people pulling me into stuff saying, hey, they need help. And I'm like, well, I used to look up to you really, really strongly. But now you guys are looking up to me. And it's an amazing feeling when someone that you really look up to is pulling you in to something else to ask for your help. And yeah, I learn't that I am capable of doing all these different things. I am capable of taking the leadership role, and if I can put my mind to it, then I'm capable of it. So yeah.
Well, um, William, are you ready for some questions of our audience?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay,
Okay.
well,
Bring it on.
from our former guest and platinum explorer, Nahel, what is a crocodile selfie? Can I hack a crocodile selfie?
Okay. So the crocodile selfie thing. So Nihal kind of he has this email address. I think it's crocodileselfie@gmail.com. And we kind of paid him out a bit because he'd always send selfies of himself going like with someone else.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, so I just started like taking these crocodile selfies with everyone that I went around and saw, Ingress players and the like, and just kept on sending them to him. So yeah, it's kind of funny, like all these kind of niche things that happen inside the resistance. that yeah, there are some really crazy people, crazy in a good way, and we have so much fun in like just the BR and all, for example. It's the craziest hangout, just people around the clock talking, being drunk, that kind of thing. Just chatting, being friends.
Cool. Well, we have a really good questions from James Gibbons. Um, he says, every agent I've met has some inspiration that keeps them motivated. Who or what inspires you to keep picking up the scanner?
Yeah. So actually, James Gibson, was it? He's actually in the other room. This is his
Okay,
house.
That's good.
okay.
So yeah, um, I think the answer he's looking for is James is my inspiration, Agent Varthrax. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, it is my local community. So I don't think I would have gotten past 1 million AP. I'm now on 19 million AP. If it wasn't for my local community and all the people saying, "Hey, let's do this. Let's get you out of your house and drive you to the other side of Canberra, loop for a few hours, and then blow something up." Um, and it is the international resistance, the burn. Yeah, just being able to chat to people for hours on end, um, hang out with awesome people like Nihal, and yeah, just meeting new people, just chatting. It is by far the most powerful thing about Ingress, being included in a community, and that's really what I find is what keeps me going.
Wow, that's yeah, pretty inspiring as well. Um,
Thanks.
so something that we've been offering our guests is the opportunity to express themselves for 60 seconds. So usually it's some philosophical advice, but since you're also a composer, um, you're welcome to express yourself through music. Be
Yeah.
interested in so indulging.
Okay. Yeah. So I kind of wrote this last night, um, just like when you guys just mentioned, "Hey, you're a keyboardist. Let's do something involving keyboard." Um, so I shall set this up quickly. Can you hear that?
Yes.
yep.
Okay. I'll just find my pedal. Right. Ada Jarvis, the question remains, a zombie or an artificial brain? No, I'm not quite satisfied with all that they say, but maybe there's another way. I fight for a man that is perfectly human. His moustache is out of this world. He uses a scanner to photograph his food, takes selfies with his fellow man. I fight for Philly. Joe Philly. Thanks.
Wow.
That is fantastic. I think we see a new hashtag in the future, Fight for Philly.
I think it's already going around.
Oh, awesome. I love it. William, or I'm sorry, Phil or Will, thank you
Yeah.
so much for taking the time to be here with us this evening. It was a very enlightening, but fight. I don't have a very resistant conversation, but yeah, it was really great to meet you, get to know you, and kind of see, yeah, this perspective from someone with your experience and well, he's at your age too. So thanks again for being on the show.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much, William. And well, our next guest hails in practically Andrew's correct neighborhood. I, is he here to represent Northern Virginia during Andrew's absence? No, he's a very welcome guest. We are proud to have here Brad Moldenhauer, aka Agent Totty.
Ow! Brad, you are on mute.
Brad, you are muted.
Live.
Am I still on mute now?
Yeah, you are. I can hear you well.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Toti. What an interesting agent name. Almost sounds like gelato flavor. Where did you get that name from, and have you always had that name?
Yeah, it's actually an interesting story. Almost 20 years ago now, my mother had a Siamese cat that she had just rescued from a center. And at the time, I was, at the height of my soccer abilities. I was a collegiate player, and I really adored the play of this Roman player named Francesco Totti. So I threw the idea out there to name this cat Totti. And by the way, he is still alive. He's somewhere here, actually. Anyway, that was the inspiration behind my name. But the funny thing about that name is the name is Totti. But, Ingress has done this to me, and primarily my own team. It's like, oh, yeah, that's Toddy. So, now I'm, one or the other. But it's funny. I even find myself now, hey, what's your agent name? Toddy. So that's essentially how it happened. But as for your other question about has it always been my name, well, yes and no. I curiously have had 3 different names with one account in this game, and all of them have been a variation of Toady or Toddy. Oddly, the one I have now, which is the one that should be displayed on the screen, is the one that I actually have resonated to the most. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting story, but Toddy, Toady, that's me.
Toddy.
Cool.
Sorry, just out of habit. So what's up, man? It's really surreal to see you on in this capacity. Yeah, so I'm really glad to have you on here. So let's get cerebral for a second. Something that some people may not know about you so much is you're a serious stats man. And I don't get it, but can you explain what you do and how the heck you do it?
Yeah, it's curious that you guys had Bilius on and myself, because I didn't realize that he was interested in information security, because that's actually what I do for a living. Now, how that relates to stats, well, it does and it doesn't. But one thing that I've always I always try to tell people about myself. I was a real interesting child. Back in the 80s, I used to collect sports cards. And I wouldn't collect them to throw them into spokes or, put them in plasticware and nail them to the wall or anything. I would take them and study players' statistics on the back. Didn't matter the sport. It could be football, soccer, baseball, basketball, whatever. But there was something at a very young age that resonated in me, where I was like, wow, you can really measure performance and ability through statistical output. And it's interesting because I use that in my own career right now in the establishment of performance metrics, obviously for various IT areas and the sort. But taking that to Ingress now, one thing I found incredibly fascinating, give or take if people make their stats public, you can really discern a lot about a player's activities based upon their stats. And it's something that obviously I probably preach locally and probably ad nauseum at times, and yeah, I can't believe I'm into this stuff either, but yeah, numbers are fascinating to me. They really tell the story, depending upon the situation.
Wow. Well, Brad, I know you've participated in some historic operations, including the first field over Washington, D.C., and a field art tribute to veterans on Veterans Day last year. Did you find it particularly challenging given the high portal density in such a historic city?
Well, yeah. I got to tell you, the first field that we threw up over D.C., as a matter of fact, Daphne and I were in a car together for the better part of 7 hours that night. You know, that was just unbelievable. At that point in the history of the actual game, viruses had been released a week earlier, and at that time they weren't, you know, acquirable via hacks. So, you know, Daphne and I acquired, you know, an ADA via code, and we actually had the ADA 2 different portals at that time was, I mean, absolutely unheard of. I mean, just having one of these was unbelievable. And, you know, that night, I know it's chronicled probably in G+ posts everywhere, but I tell you, that night right there brought about 8 or 9 of us really close together. And the fact that we were able to pull that off with an idea that was spawned, you know, earlier that day, and by 2 in the morning, we actually had like a 560,000 MU field covering the nation's capital was just unbelievable. But, you know, I knew it was a harbinger. I knew that we like that very early in this game because that event probably took place in May of 2013. I knew that we were capable of doing something bigger on a grander scale. And, of course, that did arrive. And I can think of 2 separate occasions, one of which you did mention. And I think that might have been Daphne's brainchild, actually. The whole, you know, at the time we had L11 players. You know, Veterans Day was November 11th, so it was the 11th day of the 11th month. And Daphne said, you know what, why don't we have all 11 of these L11 players build this star at 11 p.m. on November 11th? And, yeah, it was really special. You know, once again, you know, it was one of those things that we had to pull off at a specific time, and you know, all the challenges that come with a highly dense portal population like downtown DC, which is where we pulled that off, was really something. And then finally, one event that, you know, still to this day, I'm still questioning how we pulled it off. We have 2 local players who are very dear friends of mine and Daphne's, legendary players actually, Electric Blue and Route 42. And they came up with the idea of rebuilding DC the way our founding fathers saw it. So we have these original boundary stones outside of the current boundaries of Washington, D.C. And the goal was to link these all up into, you know, a nice square. And this square, I mean, I couldn't begin to guesstimate what the total MU count of it was, but I can tell you that there were about 40 to 45 people involved in that, and it started off early in the morning, and by about 8 o'clock that night, it was up, and it was incredibly grandiose. But really, it was really special just being involved in something like that.
It sounds really amazing. I can't imagine the complexity of doing something like that in DC. Really, I can't imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you have any help from your family members? Because as I know, you have some familiars on that play too. Am I right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, shortly after I began playing, probably a couple months, I finally coerced my brother into downloading the game. And for those of you that, you know, a lot of people know my brother. He's actually, like I said, he's been playing now for the better part of a year and a half. But he's got, you know, he's a very distinct personality. He's one of these guys that's just, he's a doer. You know, he doesn't want to strategize. He doesn't want to give anything thought. He wants to know, hey, what it is we're doing, and let's go do it. So I remember downloading the game for him, and I tried to walk him through the training so he wouldn't have to do it, because I knew I was going to do it anyway. So, you know, as I'm going through my explanations and explaining what the XM bar is, hey, this little circle here's got your level, it's your agent name, this is a portal, this is your 30-meter circumference and what you can actually play the portal. Yeah. Let's just, come on, let's get going. Okay, well, downloaded it. I'm like, all right, you're going to be enlightened. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, what do you want your agent name to be? And his response was, you know what, I don't care. Let's just start playing. So I went ahead and I was like, okay. So, you know, set him up, gave him his scanner, and I just, till this day, it's so sitcom. He's like, okay, XM bar, got it. Level 1, got it. why does it say loose stools right here? And I was like, well, that's your agent name. You said you didn't care. And his response was, you know what? I'm not playing. This is ridiculous. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me show you something else. I haven't showed you this yet. Look at this. You see this alerts tab? You see this, how this guy's attacking my portal? Can you imagine how humiliated someone will be as soon as they see an alert saying their portal's under attack by loose stools? He was like, all right, I'm in. Let's go. So, that was that. And I tell you, right now, I mean, he's a pretty big local player here in the D.C. area. So that was the beginning of it.
All right, so speaking of local players and, well, just being local, it's pretty rare in the D.C. area to meet people who actually grew up in the area. So has Ingress taught you much about the region that you didn't previously know about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've, just, to give a little background, too, on my style of play, I actually am not, my forte really isn't discovery and exploration. So, about 95% of everything I've done to date in the game has happened in the D.C. area. Now, that said, yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, Daphne, I remember at one time, I can't remember what it was I was doing, but obviously I was up to no good, but we were on the metro somewhere, and I can't remember who I was with, but we got off at Fort Totten. You know what? I might as well have been in Norway. And this is like 35 minutes away from where I live in Alexandria. But it was fascinating. I had never been to this part of D.C., and, it was just unbelievable. So the game has opened up gateways like that. I think plenty of people have probably had moments like that. But I'll tell you something truly fascinating that has happened to me with Ingress. Growing up as a kid around here, I played for a traveling soccer team based out of Arlington. And, I currently work in Arlington. And, I played for this team from, let's say 1987 to like 1995. As all of you are aware, or at least in the United States, a number of parks are Ingress portals. And some of those parks have multiple portals depending upon monuments and, other sculptures and what have you. But I got to tell you, there's almost like a wave of nostalgia that comes over me when I go to a park to capture a portal in Arlington, and I can recall a specific game that I played in, like back in 1989 in this park. And, I got to tell you, it's happened more times than you didn't know. But it's really great how I kind of just get stuck in thought on that. And that's something truly amazing that this game has brought out to me, because I'll tell you, I wouldn't have gone to these parks for that kind of moment if it weren't for this game. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Now, how did you find out about Ingress? And what made you choose Enlighten, which I am so grateful for, by the way?
Yeah. I'm actually on my second job during the course of my Ingress playing career. The first job I had, I worked downtown with a group of guys, and one of them had brought up, and we're all techies, so it wasn't hard to figure out about the game, but it was curious. This was in about January of 2013. One of the guys had mentioned the game, and for those of you that played back in the beta phase, you know that you had to wait to get your invites. And I probably received my invite to play in February of 2013, but we wanted to wait till all 5 of us got our invites, and that happened sometime in March 2013. And I remember when we got them, we didn't really read into the story or anything, but it came down to the selection of the 2 teams. And I remember we actually had a lunch over it. And it was like, at first it kind of started like, well, blue and green. Blue's my favorite color. Is that your favorite color? Well, what about you? And then I don't know, it just kind of said, we moved on from that, and we were like, enlightened or resistance? You know what? We all are dorks. So maybe enlightened is the way to go, and I think that's really why we gravitated that way. Yeah, I can't remember for sure though.
That's really fun. Well, I don't want to comment more on that, but besides soccer and English, of course,
Yep.
what other sports or activities did you partake in?
Yeah, you know, I'm actually I've been in a bowling league for a number of years. I find bowling to be amazing. You know, it's very much unlike Ingress because bowling is one of those sports, and I think it's like most physical sports. But the thing I love about bowling is no matter how good I'm doing, cognitively, I know I could be doing better. so it's one of those things that you know, it keeps me coming back from that respect. But I tell you, I mean, I'm completely self-taught. I own my own ball, my own shoes. Haven't gotten the name or the shirt with someone else's name on it yet, but I'm working on it. But yeah, I really enjoy bowling. Other than that, you know, I'm also an avid FIFA 15 player. I don't know if that counts as a sport or anything, but yeah, I love playing that and going through all the different tactical formations and that kind of stuff, which, yeah, I mean, that's really exhilarating for someone like me, probably completely drab to about 99% of the other people on the planet.
Okay. Well, when you're not out in the field with me and our team and out on your bowling nights, I noticed that you have a habit of staying home basically to play with your pussies. So I'm sorry for outing you, but your pics are outed all over the G+ profile. Are they down? Where are they? I was expecting to see some of them.
Yeah. You know, they were here when Bilius was talking, but now they've completely run over. But just for those that are watching, I am the proud owner of a Russian Blue and a Bengal, both boys. Both are kittens, 8 months old for the Russian Blue, 6 months old for the Bengal. And, you know, earlier today I was actually showing the host of the show, the Russian Blue, and you know, we came to the realization, what an Ingress cat. I mean, the blue coat, the emerald green eyes, and yeah, he put it this way, my cats don't have any disqualifiable traits, so his were, you know, right on spot. Yeah, matter of fact, yeah, normally he will come over to me if I'm busy, and right now I'm busy, and it's odd. Yeah, he's nowhere to be found, but I do spend a lot of time with my boys. Yeah.
Well, if he does come out, yeah, I'd love to put him on camera.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
All right, so now that hearts of the women watching here have melted all over the internet, I believe that Jorge has a question.
Okay, well, Ingress is a social game, and you've been pretty influential in some cross-faction interactions. How do you maintain some of these relationships?
Yeah, actually, just recently I set up a cross-faction event in Alexandria, and you know, I have thanked him because he was there, but Andrew Krug, you know, came to my rescue. I really,
Andrew Krug?
Yeah, oh yeah, because you know, the story goes like this. You know, a resistance agent here, a local one named Maid of Horror, approached me about setting up something, and you know, I went ahead and I did, and you know, immediately we had like 40 people accepted. I mean, it was. You know, and I'd set it up a month in advance to give people some time to come to it. And, you know, we did it in Old Town Alexandria, which is a highly dense portal area. I mean, there's probably about 200, 250 portals there. And what I wanted to do was, which I probably wasn't an original idea by any means, but I wanted to do some field art where the Enlightened players created the Resistance glyph, and the Resistance players created the Enlightened glyph. And you know what? I mean, when I was playing with it, it just required too much real estate to actually, you know, render properly. So on the eve of this, and yeah, because I was working on this in a silo and didn't tell anyone, I had to go to Andrew. I'm like, is there any way you can create an Old Town mission? And, you know, not only did he create one, and not only did we execute it that night, both Resistance and Enlightened players, but it's turned out to be one of the more fun missions, as I understand it, in the local DC area. It's a walk around the OTA waterfront, and you know, one of the things that that we did that particular night, by the time we actually left the happy hour spot to begin the mission, the Resistance players actually dropped down to about 6 in number, and what we did was, as we went around, because the mission involved just hacking portals, the Enlightened players went ahead and aided portals, and then I took it upon myself to ADA every other one. So it was a real showcase of unity between the two factions. And turned out to be a really, really great event. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. Put it that way. Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, do you mind if I get some audience questions for you?
Please, please.
Well, we have Fernando Valenzuela asking you, why are all the Enlightened players in the DMV area such badasses?
Excellent question.
Well, I think, yeah, the player you're talking about, you know, he personifies that. His agent name is Haywire. And, you know what? Really, it's funny. He asks that question, and if he wants the answer to that, he has to look no further than a standard mirror. There's players like him that have become incredibly influential in the DMV area and really are capable of rallying people to respond to, you know, farms going up or to respond to actual builds. I mean, I tell you, I mean, it really kind of is exciting for me, you know, to watch where the game has gone from that respect, because in our local area, when we actually set up a build, I mean, we'll have 30-plus people. I remember back in the day when we'd have 7 and we'd have to, you know, drive out to Daphne's house and pull her out of bed for the 8th. I mean, you know, so now it's really great to, like, see that, though. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have another question from Jamie McKenzie. He says, what is your hot tip for recruiting new agents?
You know, recruiting is definitely not my forte. But I will say this, though. One of the things that whenever we do spot a player who is new to the area, you know, we do make, you know, every attempt to establish contact and let them know that, hey, we have this network of people that play this game, regardless of where you live, regardless of where you work. I mean, we know somebody in the local area, and not just somebody, but multiple people. And I tell you what, I mean, we have a very eclectic cast of characters from all different walks of life. So you know, I mean, that would be how I would approach not only recruiting someone, but really getting the hook in there and reeling them in.
Okay. Daphne?
All right, well, something that we had offered to William earlier, and we do offer for our guests now, is an opportunity to, 60 minutes, or 60-second, good gosh, soapbox. And I don't doubt you have something that you can share very eloquently.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there anything that you'd like to send out over to the internet?
Sure. So this game, one of the things that that I find fascinating is that, as I mentioned, I've been playing since March 2013. You know, you almost have to continually recreate yourself, or set new goals, or find a new niche to continue playing this game. Now, you can do that with personal objectives, but one of the things that I never thought would happen with this game is some of the relationships that I've made in this game are just beyond what I ever imagined. I have some really dear friends that play this game that I met from this game, and you know what? They really are the impetus nowadays that actually keep me going. You know, I mean, we didn't even really talk about what I've done statistic-wise or anything like that, but I think most people, and especially, remember, I'm primarily a local player. I think most people probably get tired with my style of play, but it's really the people, not only on the Enlightened, but also on the Resistance within DMV that actually, you know, keep me going every day and pulling out the scanner and seeing what's out there.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. So one question, though, it's actually really interesting to contrast with Will and you. And Will is out exploring the world. He doesn't have a car. He doesn't have, some of the more convenient modes of transit. And you, generally stay locally. But if you could go anywhere in the world to explore for Ingress, where would you want to go?
Oh, wow. You know what? I've always fancied Barcelona. You know, Spanish Riviera, best of both worlds, city and a beach, and you know what? My prerequisite: a brilliant football team.
Sure, fair enough. All right, right on.
Well, I want to know something, please. Now that Andrew's not here to defend himself, do you have any embarrassing stories to share about him or something?
Oh, wow.
Well, okay, maybe not, maybe not. Okay.
Secrets.
Well, you know, one thing that I mean, wasn't he? He came to the L11 build, and he actually was a noob, which is funny because he started playing before all of us, but we identified him as. That was pretty funny.
He was our token noob, and we did get to order him around. We had him take our photo, and yeah, he actually was. I forgot. We did relish in that. Good call. I was.
Yeah, but no, you know, Andrew is generally very well composed when we're out on Ingress events. And no, I can't really think of anything that he's done that you know, we need to put on page one. Yeah. Unfortunately, because I would definitely dime him out. Yeah.
Well, Brad, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us on the show tonight. And it's really fun to get surrounded again by another enlightened member of the DC community. I love all them.
I really appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you, thank you. Well, with that, thank you guys for being tonight with us in this show, the number 25, and well, we are getting almost 6 months of show. I'm really happy for that, and thank you for all that you have been watching this show. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It was such a pleasure to meet you, Will. And thank you for Will's friend. Oh my gosh, I forgot your name already, but
James.
James. Well, great question, and also providing such an excellent studio. I think I might have to join you in that toast over there. Not sure what you're drinking, but I hope it's legal.
25.
Right on. Well, have a good night, everyone, and a great week.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Happy hacking.
Yeah, you have to remember that you can watch the show on YouTube, youtube.com/behindthescanner.
That's right. All right, hey, so Toddy, man, how's your fantasy football lineup for this weekend?
Oh, well, you know, by the way, I lost Victor Cruz for the season, so, you know, you got that going for you.
Right on, man, because, yeah, it's you and me, man. You're going down.
Well, do you have any Jets or Patriots?
Now, I don't know if you watch much American football or anything.
I hope William is drinking something legal for his age.
Is he out there in Australia?